In a shocking twist, the month has ended and I decided to cap it off with a what I played in the last month video. No one could have seen this coming. Here's the rating scale. Remember, 5 isn't a perfect game, just one that I'd universally recommend. The first game I played in September was Kunai. This is a nice, small little Metroidvania with a solid concept and a nice art style that just failed to stand out to me. It was pretty easy, and most of the combat came down to spamming the attack button and occasionally moving out of the way of an attack. The Kunai grapples are a nice little traversal tool, but I don't think the level design is built around it very well. You feel less like Spider-Man when he's doing this, and more like Spider-Man when he's doing this. You just kind of shimmy and slam up walls or travel short distances with it, and while once in a blue moon you are let off the leash and can string together some nice movement, I think creating these more narrow pathways and classic 2D platforming layouts was a bad call here. You're just not given nearly the level of freedom that would have made this a game-changing mechanic. I still like the contrasted color style, and I wouldn't say the game's bad, but I'd call it a solid game that's unfortunately pretty easily outclassed by other Metroidvanias. If you're a hardcore fan of the genre though and looking for something new after playing all the hits, this might be one to check out. I usually don't give half scores, but I'm feeling a 2.5 on this. After that, I took a trip down memory lane back to Dark Souls 3. I can't believe it's been 3 years since I played this game last. It feels like it was a few months ago, but one thing that I forgot about it is that the beginning kinda sucks. All of the worst parts in this game are backloaded. Aside from Abyss Watchers and Gundyr, what are the bosses we have here? The Deacons, Wolnir, Greatwood, Vort, Crystal Sage. Some of these are alright, but they're definitely way down at the bottom of the list when it comes to Dark Souls 3's bosses, and same with the areas. It's mainly forests and swamps and stuff early on, other than the castle at the very beginning. So if you played Dark Souls 3 and thought it was kinda lame and dropped it, I understand actually, but it's my professional opinion that everything from Pontiff Sullivan to the end of the game is maybe the most consistent content in a FromSoft game, period. And it's a large stretch, by the way. That's over half the game right there. It kinda pulls a reverse Dark Souls 1. While that game absolutely crumbles later on, this one builds itself up after a slow start, so stick with it and you'll find some of the most enjoyable bosses, areas, arenas, everything, not only in the series, but in games in general. I will not accept any DS3 slander. Because of the slow start that does last a while, I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5, but it's a very strong 4, best believe. I was actually playing another Souls-like at the same time because I was deciding between sleeping on a bed of nails all month or just torturing myself with difficult games that I suck at, and a bed of nails was too expensive. Steelrising. Like I mentioned in my dedicated review though, actually, Steelrising is nowhere near as tough as your average Souls-like. I think it's very manageable and it's got extra accommodations for people that aren't that familiar with the genre, so that's a big plus for newcomers. I think overall Steelrising is rock solid. It may not feel as tight to control as its peers. There's definitely some stiffness in the movement and the attacks. The level of resistance when you hit an enemy is kind of realistic, I guess, but it doesn't have a great game feel. And I was pretty let down by the story because it kind of just was there, hanging out in a corner, being weird. But I like the enemy variety. A lot of the animations were great. I kept finding cool moves even hours and hours into it. The rapid cooling stamina system was well implemented. The powdered wigs, the uncomfortably lavish clothing, and maybe the best boss design I've seen in a non-FromSoft Souls-like. This game had a lot of positives. If you want to see my full thoughts, I do have a review up on the channel. I feel like I can't give it a 4 because there is some clunk, some half-baked elements, but this one's a stronger 3. It's honestly one of the better Souls-likes I played. I was considering sneaking into 4 for a bit, but it can't be in the same class as DS3. Now we get to the only thing I played on VR this month, Beat Saber. See, I know I was supposed to get to Red Matter, I said I would, and then something, excuse, you understand. Listen, I was trying to save money, okay? Everything I played this month was either a demo given to me for free or something I already owned except Kunai and this music pack. I'm on a budget these days, alright? Now normally I wouldn't talk about playing Beat Saber because I do it every so often anyways, it's not usually worth mentioning, but I thought I should talk about this specific Fall Out Boy music pack because it introduces more than just a new batch of songs for any schmuck like me who doesn't own a PC VR that supports mods. This music pack also includes 2 new types of blocks, the first one being this crazy spliced up one that I guess makes you follow a more curved path, but way cooler than that are these connected blocks that force you to follow a very specific motion during rest. I really hope they implement this more going further, including putting it as an option for older songs because it genuinely feels incredible when you get the whole sequence right. It forces you to stop playing lazily with little wrist flicks, and it makes these actions feel even more seamless than they were before. The selection of songs in this music pack is great on its own. It's all of the band's biggest bangers, and it's not just 4 songs like the Panic one, but this change is elite. And playing My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark with these special blocks and the fire effects in the background, it's incredible. If you own this game, even if you aren't a fan of Fall Out Boy, maybe grab that song and try out this new edition. I think it's brilliant. Beat Saber is a 5 out of 5. This pack, if you're a fan of Beat Saber, is also a 5 out of 5. Keeping things rhythmic, Metal Hellsinger. This is another one that I've already reviewed. You can check that out here, but the rundown is, this is an exceptional game that's very replayable, has an incredible soundtrack even for somebody who doesn't listen to metal, manages to find a perfect balance of promoting attacking on beat without getting frustrating if you go asynchronous for a bit, and is tied up with a nice little comic-like bow with cutscenes that don't tell the most groundbreaking story, but absolutely bring flavor to the world. It's a condensed package of pure quality, with the only major issue being the uninspired bosses. It's all one design, all one type of fight, and it absolutely is stretched out way farther than it had any right to be. The only boss that's different is the final one, and it's great, but everything in between is eh. That's not nearly enough to ruin the overall package though. Solid 4 out of 5. This is pretty damn close to a must-play for FPS fans. Only one interlude this time because I spent more time touching grass this month than usual. I know, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Freudian by Daniel Caesar. This is such a nice background album. Daniel's voice is a perfect blend of powerful but soothing. A lot of the tracks on here lodge their way into my ear and stick there for days. He has great chemistry with every female vocalist on the album, and he weaves those vocals into the project very frequently. I just feel calm and mellowed out when listening to this album. Yes, I know, it's a shock. I can be calm and mellowed out. I'm not always fitting 18,000 words in a 10-minute videos. I take breaths in real life. And I feel like when I need to start studying again, I'll toss this on alongside albums like Control, The House is Burning, and Happier Than Ever. Relaxing stuff that's still sometimes up-tempo enough to not tire me out. I read the complete Brian Michael Bendis run on Moon Knight this week. He collaborates with Alex Maleev on this one. That's the same duo that made, and I'll say it, the best Daredevil run ever made. Sorry, Frank Miller. But not like too sorry, because don't you like hate Muslims or something? Anyways, Bendis isn't exactly beloved in comics, and his writing can get a little bit repetitive and one-dimensional, but there's no denying that he's dropped some classics like that Daredevil run and Ultimate Spider-Man. This one isn't quite on the level of those two, but it's an enjoyable read regardless. It brings in some of the greater Marvel universe and plays with the idea of Moon Knight rationalizing his decisions through imagined versions of some of the heroes that he's met. He'll imagine what Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Captain America would say in whatever situation he's in, and they represent his rational, dutiful side, the side that's struggling with maintaining his more human elements, and his more rageful side, which creates this kind of pseudo crossover that I find pretty interesting. I always love shorter runs. I think this book tells a nice standalone story that doesn't rely heavily on knowing Moon Knight's history specifically. I definitely give it a read if you enjoy the concept of the Moon Knight character. Edgerunners was really entertaining. There's not much more that can really be said on it that hasn't been said by 1,000 people already. I'm not a big anime guy, and I haven't played Cyberpunk, but I still enjoyed it. It's got great action. The world of Cyberpunk 2077 was always unquestionably cool, even if the game had its hitches, and it was just a good watch. It does have the subtlety of a giraffe on rollerblades. It basically spells out its themes as a text overlay throughout the whole show, but hey, they still made a good product out of those themes, so who am I to complain? And finally, just before writing this actually, I listened to King's Disease 2. I like the first one a lot, but I didn't get around to this one till now. And I think Nas has shown himself to be one of the better old heads at adapting to modern times. Hit-Boy's production is top tier. There's a lot of hard-hitting tracks throughout this record. I think sometimes I tune out some of the things Nas is talking about, or some of the more standard songs. I just feel like I've heard the same song already in his other projects, but overall this is a great album, and I think it's even better than the original King's Disease. Back out to games, my brother and I got back into Deep Rock Galactic. That's been a lot of fun. We fell off of it since we lived in the same house, so playing co-op when it wasn't couch co-op was always a bit awkward, but now that we don't live together, we've realized how enjoyable Deep Rock can be. It was always good, but I just now noticed how good of a job it does balancing giving you swarms of enemies to fight and focus on, and then giving you objectives that require just enough of your brain to be engaged while leaving enough processing power to talk to the other player. There are a lot of games that are good with friends, and I think at a certain point that's just because you like your friends, not because you like the game. But Deep Rock's got a solid shooting loop with good classes. I'm a scout all the way. I love the freedom of the grapple, and is intentionally designed to ebb and flow between a game-focused experience and a friend-focused experience, which I really like. It would be nice if I could drop down 3 feet without my health bar falling off a bridge, but other than that, this is all you could want from a co-op experience, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Oh, what's that? There's not enough Souls-likes on this list. What, you thought I was gonna leave it at 2? No, that would be a reasonable thing to do. Do you even know me? 3 Souls-likes. Thymesia. This one's kinda tough. Thymesia is 100% carried by its combat. I actually like this combat system a lot. The parries feel nice, attacking feels buttery but not too floaty. Having a different dedicated counter button for more critical strikes keeps you on your toes, and I really like its dual health bar system. The white bar is like the enemy's outer shell. You can wail on it with regular attacks and parries that'll chip down the green bar a bit, but not by much. And replacing what's typically a heavy attack with R2 is this claw attack that targets the green bar directly. Because the white bar regens, you always need to be attacking. A lot of these games are getting really good at pushing you to play aggressively with these unique systems, and overall, while there is some jank here and there, the actual gameplay is fun, especially because the bosses are mechanically solid. Everything else is a little bit less appealing. The visuals are muddy and depressing, and not in an ooh, dark, dreary world kind of way, more like a, man, this is really dull kind of way. I find the regular enemy design leaves some to be desired. I didn't really care about the story story, it was all a bit generic or a bit flat. So the question is, are you okay with a game that's carried by its gameplay? I think for such a gameplay-focused genre, I am okay with it. I enjoyed my time with it, I wanted to finish it, it was fun. But if you look for games that are the complete package, I don't think Thymesia is gonna do it. It gets a light 3 out of 5. And ending off with a return of a classic franchise, Return to Monkey Island. The only point-and-click adventure game that I've ever played is Freddy Fish in the case of the haunted schoolhouse when I was 5, and I remember 2 things about it. That it was only 10 minutes long, and I played it at least 50 times. Turns out, it's not 10 minutes long, it's over an hour long, and I would just keep getting stuck and thinking that was the end of the game because there was nowhere else to go, and then I just run it back right after. So to answer your question, yes, I have always been a loser. That means Return to Monkey Island is the kind of game that I don't typically play much, and to be fair, it's not really around much nowadays anyways, but I really respect it for what it is. To me, this game wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it exuded good vibes, whether it was shoving mountains of information at you as a joke that I sat through all of because it was kind of interesting, or Guybrush making little remarks about his surroundings. It was just a nice environment with puzzles that were pretty tough to crack. I'm not ashamed to say that my impatient ass did consult the hint book here and there. The game takes the concept of a pirate adventure and turns it mainly into menial tasks, which is kind of the point. It's the least epic pirate quest you can go on, and the art style is fantastic. I don't know why people were bashing it before. Some fans are lunatics, I'm telling you. This game looks great. It's not something that I would seek out if it wasn't brand new and such a storied franchise, just because this kind of game isn't typically in my wheelhouse, but for what it is, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. And that's everything I played in September. A good group of games if you ask me, a lot of recent stuff. I'm excited for October to bring us Scorn, Bayonetta 3, and Gotham Knights, even though I'm still feeling a bit worried for that one. Let me know what you guys played in September. If you're new here, subscribe, join the Discord, it's in the description, like the video. These outros have gotten way too long. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.